Welcome back. The Lincoln Wheat Penny is one of the most familiar coins in American history, but hidden among millions of ordinary-looking examples are a handful that serious collectors examine very differently. Today, we are uncovering what separates a common penny from a truly collectible one, and why the smallest details can make all the difference. First coin. A small copper coin struck in 1941 may seem ordinary at first glance, yet it carries the fingerprints of one of the most dramatic periods in American history and the attention of collectors who carefully examine every detail before deciding whether they have found something truly special. The 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny has spent decades passing quietly through pockets, cash registers, piggy banks, and family collections, but certain authenticated examples have surprised the numismatic world because of their remarkable preservation, unusual characteristics, or exceptional quality. As this story unfolds, you'll discover why two coins with the same date can have dramatically different collector appeal, what certified examples have actually sold for under the right circumstances, and which features experts evaluate before assigning a value. The answer is never determined by the date alone. Instead, it depends on a fascinating combination of rarity, originality, condition, strike quality, and market demand that transforms an everyday cent into a piece of American history worthy of serious attention. The 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny was produced during the final months before the United States entered World War II, making it one of the last Lincoln cents minted during a peacetime economy that was already preparing for global conflict. American factories were increasing production, military contracts were expanding, and millions of citizens were watching international events unfold with growing concern. Although the attack on Pearl Harbor would not occur until December of that year, the nation was already shifting toward industrial mobilization. Every coin struck by the United States Mint represented confidence in the country's monetary system while serving the practical needs of everyday commerce. Philadelphia struck pennies without a mint mark, while Denver used the D mint mark and San Francisco used the S. Together, these three facilities produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents in 1941, ensuring that nearly every American encountered them in daily transactions. Despite the large overall production, survival rates in pristine condition are far lower because these coins were intended to circulate rather than remain untouched for generations. Collectors often begin by studying the physical specifications because they provide the foundation for authentication. The 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny was designed by Victor David Brenner, whose portrait of Abraham Lincoln became the first regular circulating United States coin to feature an actual historical figure. The obverse displays Lincoln facing right, accompanied by the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date. Brenner's initials, VDB, appear discreetly near the lower edge of Lincoln's shoulder, a feature that has fascinated collectors since the series began. The reverse presents two elegant wheat ears surrounding the inscriptions "1 cent" and "United States of America," with the national motto "EPLUBUSUNUM" above. The coin measures approximately 19.05 millimeters in diameter, weighs about 3.11 grams, has a plain edge, and consists primarily of 95% copper with the remaining 5% made up of tin and zinc. This bronze alloy gives original examples their warm reddish appearance, although decades of circulation and environmental exposure often transform that color into deeper brown shades that significantly influence collector desirability. When specialists evaluate a 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny, they look well beyond the date because the condition of every tiny detail matters. The highest points of Lincoln's cheek, jawline, hair above the ear, and coat are among the first places to reveal circulation wear. On the reverse, the wheat kernels, stalk lines, and lettering provide equally important clues about preservation. Professional grading services classify these coins on the Sheldon scale from poor 1 to mint state 70, but color designation adds another layer of importance for copper coins. Coins retaining nearly all of their original mint red luster receive a red designation, while partially toned pieces become red-brown, and fully toned examples are classified as brown. These distinctions can dramatically affect market value because original red surfaces become increasingly scarce as decades pass. A sharply struck mint state red example may attract significantly stronger bidding than an otherwise similar brown coin, even if both have experienced no circulation. Strike quality also varies between dies, and collectors pay close attention to the sharpness of Lincoln's beard, hair strands, and the wheat ears when comparing premium examples. Although millions of 1941 pennies survive today, truly elite specimens remain surprisingly elusive because most entered circulation immediately after leaving the mint. As a result, examples displaying blazing original luster, minimal contact marks, and exceptional eye appeal become increasingly difficult to locate as grades rise. A certified mint state coin with attractive red surfaces may sell for around $1,250 under favorable market conditions, while another certified example with even finer preservation and stronger visual appeal has reached approximately $2,850 at auction. These figures reflect authenticated, professionally graded coins rather than ordinary circulated examples that are commonly found in collections. Exceptional registry quality coins occupying the highest certified grades have occasionally realized substantially higher prices because advanced collectors compete intensely for the finest known examples. Those remarkable auction records should never be interpreted as typical values for every 1941 penny. Instead, they demonstrate how scarcity at the highest levels of preservation can create extraordinary demand among specialists seeking the very best available specimens. Beyond standard issues, experienced collectors also search for mint errors and die varieties that distinguish one coin from millions of others. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, lamination errors, broad strikes, die cracks, retained cuds, and dramatic die breaks all have dedicated followings within the numismatic community. Repunched mint marks are not associated with every 1941 issue, but die polishing, double design elements, and other subtle production anomalies occasionally appear and require careful examination under proper magnification. Authentication becomes especially important because altered coins can resemble legitimate mint errors to an inexperienced observer. Some individuals have attempted to add mint marks, modify dates, or artificially enhance surfaces in hopes of increasing apparent value. Reputable third-party grading services examine the metal composition, strike characteristics, die markers, weight, dimensions, and microscopic surface evidence before confirming authenticity. Their certification provides confidence to both buyers and sellers by documenting that a coin is genuine and accurately graded according to recognized industry standards. Preservation plays a decisive role in whether a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny remains desirable for future generations or slowly loses its original character. Copper is particularly sensitive to fingerprints, humidity, airborne contaminants, and improper cleaning, all of which can permanently alter a coin's surface. Collectors are strongly advised never to polish or clean old copper coins because even well-intentioned cleaning removes original surfaces that specialists expect to see during authentication. Instead, the safest approach involves handling the coin only by its edges, storing it in inert archival quality holders, and keeping it in a stable environment with low humidity and limited temperature fluctuations. Albums, certified holders, and acid-free storage materials help reduce environmental damage over time. When examining the coin, proper lighting and moderate magnification reveal important characteristics without risking accidental scratches. Even a tiny fingerprint left on a brilliant uncirculated copper coin may eventually develop into permanent discoloration, reducing both visual appeal and collector confidence years later. The enduring fascination surrounding the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny comes from its remarkable ability to connect ordinary commerce with extraordinary history. It circulated during a pivotal moment when America stood on the threshold of profound national change, and every surviving example carries traces of that era. Whether preserved in pristine mint state or worn smooth after decades of everyday use, Modern collectors continue searching through inherited collections, dealer inventories, estate sales, and certified auctions because remarkable discoveries occasionally emerge where they are least expected. Still, the market consistently reminds us that value is determined through careful evaluation rather than assumptions. Authentication, certified grading, original surfaces, color designation, strike quality, rarity, and current collector demand all combine to establish what an individual coin is truly worth. Some authenticated high-grade examples have realized around $3,950 in competitive sales, while extraordinary registry-level specimens or exceptional authenticated errors have achieved even stronger auction results, reflecting their unique status rather than the value of every 1941 Lincoln wheat penny. That careful distinction is what separates informed collecting from speculation and continues to make this classic American cent one of the most studied and respected coins in United States numismatics. Next coin. At first glance, the 1942 Lincoln wheat cent appears to be just another bronze penny that quietly passed through American hands during one of the most turbulent years in modern history. Yet collectors know that this Denver-minted cent has earned a respected place in the Lincoln wheat series because truly exceptional survivors are far scarcer than the enormous original production numbers might suggest. While millions were struck for everyday commerce, only a tiny fraction escaped decades of circulation with their original mint brilliance intact. As this documentary unfolds, you'll discover why authenticated examples of the 1942 can command remarkable attention in the collector market, which characteristics specialists examine before assigning a grade, and how professional authentication, preservation, and rarity determine what the finest examples have actually brought at auction. The story behind this coin is not simply about age or a single mint mark. It is about how history, craftsmanship, and survival combine to create lasting numismatic significance. The Denver Mint produced the 1942 Lincoln wheat cent during America's first full year of participation in World War II following the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. The nation had rapidly shifted from a peacetime economy into a wartime industrial powerhouse, with factories manufacturing aircraft, tanks, ships, ammunition, and countless military supplies around the clock. Although copper remained essential for military production, bronze cents were still struck throughout 1942 before the famous zinc-coated steel cents replaced them in 1943 as part of a wartime conservation effort. Because of this timing, the 1942 represents the final Denver Mint bronze cent issued before one of the most dramatic composition changes in American coinage history. The coin, therefore, occupies a fascinating transitional position within the Lincoln wheat series, connecting the familiar bronze cents of previous decades with the unusual steel issues that immediately followed. Every surviving example reflects a pivotal moment when ordinary commerce continued even as the country's industrial resources were increasingly devoted to the war effort. The Denver Mint identified its production with a small d mint mark positioned beneath the date on the obverse, while Victor David Brenner's enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln remained the centerpiece of the design. Introduced nationally in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth, Brenner's design marked the first time a real historical figure appeared on a regularly circulating United States coin. Lincoln faces right beneath the inscription, "In God We Trust," with liberty to the left and the date opposite. Brenner's initials, VDB, appear discreetly near the lower edge of Lincoln's shoulder. The reverse features the familiar pair of wheat ears framing 1 cent and United States of America, while EPLUBUSUNUM arches above. The wheat ears symbolize agricultural prosperity and the nation's productive strength, themes that remained especially meaningful during wartime. The coin measures approximately 19.05 millimeters in diameter, weighs about 3.11 grams, has a plain edge, and was struck from an alloy consisting of 95% copper, with the balance primarily tin and zinc. These physical specifications provide an important baseline for authenticating genuine examples, because altered or counterfeit pieces frequently deviate from official mint standards. Production at Denver was substantial, with more than 206 million examples struck during 1942, making the issue readily available in circulated grades today. However, total mintage tells only part of the story. Nearly every coin entered circulation immediately, where years of commerce gradually wore away the fine details that collectors prize. High-grade survivors became increasingly scarce because very few people intentionally saved fresh rolls of cents during wartime, and those that were preserved often developed spots, discoloration, or surface disturbances over time. Specialists evaluating a 1942 first study the sharpness of Lincoln's hair, cheekbone, jawline, and coat folds before turning to the reverse, where the wheat kernels, stalk veins, and lettering reveal the quality of the strike. Denver generally produced solid strikes for this issue, although softness in isolated design areas can still occur because of die wear or normal production variables. Original mint luster flowing evenly across both sides is another characteristic that separates truly premium coins from average uncirculated examples. Professional grading introduces another layer of complexity because copper coins are evaluated not only for wear, but also for their remaining original color. Third-party grading services classify bronze cents as red, red-brown, or brown, depending on how much original mint color survives. This distinction has a profound impact on desirability because bright, fully original red examples become increasingly uncommon after decades of natural oxidation. Coins certified in Mint State 65 red often attract strong collector competition when accompanied by clean surfaces and attractive eye appeal, while pieces reaching Mint State 66 red or higher become noticeably more elusive. Under favorable market conditions, an authenticated MS66 red example has sold for roughly $1,480, while another premium certified specimen displaying superior luster and eye appeal has realized approximately $2,690. These figures apply only to professionally authenticated coins in those advanced preservation levels. Most circulated examples remain considerably more affordable, demonstrating how condition, rather than mintage alone, frequently determines collector value. Like many classic Lincoln cents, the 1942 also attracts attention from specialists searching for unusual mint-made characteristics rather than ordinary circulation pieces. Collectors carefully inspect coins for legitimate off-center strikes, clipped planchets, lamination defects, broad strikes, retained cuds, die cracks, and other documented mint errors that occurred during production. No widely recognized major double-die variety defines the standard 1942 issue in the way some other Lincoln cents are famous for, and responsible numismatic research requires acknowledging that absence instead of inventing sensational discoveries. Authentication remains essential because damaged coins, post-mint alterations, and manipulated surfaces are often mistaken for valuable errors. Unscrupulous individuals have occasionally added counterfeit mint marks to Philadelphia cents or artificially altered surfaces to imitate rare varieties. Certified grading services analyze weight, diameter, metal composition, die markers, strike characteristics, and microscopic surface evidence before confirming authenticity, giving buyers and sellers greater confidence in the marketplace. Proper preservation is one of the few factors collectors can control after acquiring a genuine 1942 Lincoln wheat cent. Bronze is highly reactive to moisture, oils from human skin, airborne contaminants, and improper storage materials, all of which can permanently reduce a coin's originality. Cleaning is especially destructive because it removes the natural surface texture that experts expect to see during professional examination. Even light polishing leaves microscopic hairlines that experienced graders recognize immediately, often resulting in a details designation instead of a straight numerical grade. The safest approach involves holding the coin only by its edges, placing it in inert archival quality holders, and storing it in a cool, stable, low-humidity environment away from direct sunlight. Magnification and proper lighting are valuable tools for examination. But aggressive rubbing or repeated handling should always be avoided. Collectors who preserve original surfaces rather than attempting cosmetic improvements generally protect both the historical integrity and long-term desirability of their coins. The lasting appeal of the 1942 D. Lincoln wheat cent comes from its ability to represent both an everyday object of commerce and an enduring witness to one of America's defining historical eras. It circulated while the nation mobilized for global conflict, carrying purchasing power through communities that were rapidly adapting to wartime life. Yet today it has become a carefully studied artifact whose finest survivors inspire spirited competition among advanced collectors. Professional authentication, certified grading, originality, strike quality, luster, color designation, eye appeal, and current market demand all combine to determine whether an individual coin stands apart from the millions originally struck. A beautifully preserved certified example with exceptional visual quality may bring around $3,760 in a competitive sale, while extraordinary registry-level pieces have achieved even stronger verified auction results because they represent the absolute finest known survivors rather than typical examples. That distinction is the foundation of responsible numismatics. Every 1942 D. Lincoln wheat cent deserves careful examination, but only authenticated coins possessing truly exceptional preservation, rarity, or documented mint-made characteristics rise into the highest levels of collector demand. Next up. At first glance, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny appears to be nothing more than a familiar bronze cent that has spent decades hidden in jars, dresser drawers, and inherited collections. Yet experienced collectors often pause the moment they see the date because this seemingly ordinary coin has become the starting point for one of the most fascinating investigations in American numismatics. The real story is not immediately visible. It is hidden in tiny details that most people overlook, from the mint mark beneath the date to the texture of the coin's surface and the way light reflects from its original luster. As we examine the coin together, you'll discover why specialists inspect every feature with remarkable precision, why authenticated examples attract serious competition among collectors, and why only certain pieces have achieved impressive results in the marketplace. The closer you look, the more you realize that the true importance of a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny has very little to do with its age alone. By 1944, the United States was deeply engaged in World War II, and the nation's economy had transformed into one driven by wartime production. The previous year, copper had been reserved for military needs, leading the mint to strike the famous zinc-coated steel cents of 1943. When sufficient quantities of recycled copper became available in 1944, the mint returned to producing bronze Lincoln cents, using metal recovered primarily from spent shell casings and other wartime sources. Whether every individual coin can be traced directly to a specific shell casing is impossible to verify, but the historical connection between wartime metal recycling and the 1944 bronze cent is well documented. Production took place at the Philadelphia Mint, which used no mint mark, the Denver Mint with a D, and the San Francisco Mint with an S together. These facilities struck well over a billion cents, ensuring that the coin circulated widely across the country while supporting a rapidly expanding wartime economy. Despite those enormous production numbers, relatively few examples survived in exceptional condition because they were intended for everyday commerce rather than long-term preservation. The investigation becomes more interesting once the coin is examined under proper lighting. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln dominates the obverse, continuing the design first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. His initials, VDB, remain subtly positioned near the lower edge of Lincoln's shoulder. The inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date complete the familiar design, while the reverse displays two wheat ears framing 1 cent and United States of America, with EPLUBUSUNUM above. The wheat ears symbolize America's agricultural strength and national prosperity, themes that remained meaningful during a period when farms and factories alike supported the war effort. Every authentic 1944 bronze Lincoln cent should measure approximately 19.05 millimeters in diameter, weigh about 3.11 grams, feature plain edge, and consist primarily of 95% copper, with the remaining 5% made up of tin and zinc. These specifications are among the first details authentication experts verify, because even slight differences in weight or composition can indicate that further examination is necessary. Experienced collectors rarely begin by asking how much a coin is worth. Instead, they immediately evaluate the strike quality and overall preservation. Attention turns first to Lincoln's hair above the ear, the cheekbone, jawline, and coat, where circulation wear becomes visible earliest. On the reverse, specialists examine the sharpness of the wheat kernels, the veins running through each stalk, and the crispness of the lettering. Strong strikes display bold detail throughout the design, while weaker strikes may leave certain features soft despite the coin never having circulated. Surface preservation is equally important. Original mint luster should flow naturally across the fields as the coin is tilted under light, creating the characteristic cartwheel effect prized by collectors. Small contact marks, fingerprints, environmental damage, or evidence of cleaning can significantly reduce desirability, even when the overall grade appears high. This careful inspection explains why two coins bearing the same date and mint mark can receive dramatically different evaluations from professional grading services. As the examination continues, color becomes one of the defining characteristics of collector value. Copper naturally changes over time, so grading services classify bronze Lincoln cents as red, red-brown, or brown, depending on how much original mint color remains. Fully red examples retaining nearly all of their original brilliance are considerably scarcer than brown examples that spent decades reacting to oxygen and moisture. Professional grading follows the Sheldon scale from poor 1 through mint state 70, but within the highest mint state grades, tiny differences in eye appeal can have a substantial effect on market performance. An authenticated mint state red example with outstanding surfaces and attractive luster has sold for approximately $1,360, while another certified piece with superior preservation and stronger visual appeal has realized around $2,980 under competitive market conditions. These results apply only to professionally graded coins exhibiting exceptional originality, and they should never be interpreted as typical values for every 1944 Lincoln wheat penny encountered in circulation. One of the reasons the 1944 issue continues to captivate collectors is the possibility of discovering genuine mint-made varieties or historically important errors. Among the most famous are the extremely rare 1944 steel cents, which were accidentally struck on leftover steel planchets from 1943. These pieces are among the best-known error coins in American numismatics, but they are extraordinarily scarce and require professional authentication because counterfeits and altered coins are common. Some individuals plate bronze cents with zinc, while others modify dates or alter metal surfaces to imitate the appearance of a steel cent. Beyond these famous transitional errors, collectors also search for legitimate off-center strikes, clipped planchets, lamination errors, and other documented production mistakes. However, responsible research requires distinguishing verified mint errors from ordinary damage that occurred after the coin entered circulation. Authentication by respected third-party grading services remains essential whenever an unusual feature appears because genuine rarity cannot be determined through appearance alone. Counterfeit awareness has become increasingly important as demand for classic Lincoln cents continues to grow. Professional authenticators study far more than the date and mint mark. They analyze weight, alloy, magnetic properties, die characteristics, strike pressure, microscopic surface texture, and known diagnostic markers associated with genuine dies. For ordinary bronze 1944 cents, non-magnetic behavior is expected, while the famous steel errors respond to a magnet because of their steel composition. Even so, magnetism alone never proves authenticity since altered or counterfeit coins can produce misleading results. Preservation also plays a critical role in long-term collectability. The safest practice is to handle coins only by their edges, avoid all cleaning or polishing, and store them in inert archival quality holders in a cool, dry environment with stable humidity. Original surfaces cannot be restored once damaged, and even a light cleaning may permanently reduce collector confidence as well as the coin's market desirability. After completing the investigation, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny reveals itself as far more than an ordinary wartime cent. It represents America's return to bronze coinage after the unusual steel issues of 1943, reflects the industrial realities of a nation at war, and continues to challenge collectors to distinguish truly exceptional survivors from the countless examples that circulated heavily for decades. Every serious examination begins with the same careful questions about the date, mint mark, strike quality, surface preservation, color, lettering, luster, and overall eye appeal before any discussion of value ever takes place. Authentication, certified grading, originality, rarity, and current collector demand ultimately determine whether a specific coin stands apart from the rest. Certified high-grade examples have realized around $3,840 in competitive sales, while extraordinary authenticated steel errors or other exceptionally rare varieties have achieved dramatically higher verified auction results that reflect their unique rarity rather than the value of ordinary 1944 bronze cents. That careful distinction is what transforms collecting from speculation into informed historical investigation, allowing each coin to be appreciated for the remarkable journey it has taken from the mint to the present day. Last coin. Millions of Americans have handled a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny at one point or another, yet only a small number of people understand why certain authenticated examples have become especially desirable within the numismatic community. At first glance, it appears no different from countless other bronze cents that circulated through stores, banks, and neighborhoods across the United States, but experienced collectors know that its true story is hidden in details invisible to the casual observer. Every tiny design element, every trace of original mint luster, every subtle characteristic of the strike contributes to a much larger picture that determines whether a coin is simply an old cent or an important collectible. As we follow the evidence surrounding this wartime issue, we'll gradually uncover how specialists evaluate authenticity, preservation, rarity, and eye appeal before assigning collector value, and later we'll examine verified market results that demonstrate why the finest certified examples continue to attract serious attention. The year 1945 marked one of the most significant turning points of the 20th century. World War II was drawing to a close as Allied forces advanced across Europe and the Pacific, and the American economy remained focused on supporting an enormous military effort while simultaneously preparing for a return to peacetime production. The United States Mint continued striking Lincoln wheat pennies because commerce still depended upon an abundant supply of small-denomination coinage. Production occurred at 3 facilities: Philadelphia, identified by the absence of a mint mark, Denver with the D mint mark beneath the date, and San Francisco with the S. Together, these mints produced well over $1 billion Lincoln cents during the year, reflecting the tremendous demand generated by a nation with millions of workers, soldiers, and businesses conducting daily transactions. Although these coins were common in circulation, they also became quiet witnesses to historic events, changing hands while Americans celebrated victory overseas, welcomed returning service members, and looked toward rebuilding a world transformed by conflict. Examining the coin itself reveals why the Lincoln cent remains one of the most enduring designs in American coinage. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln, first introduced in 1909, occupies the obverse, making it the first regularly circulating United States coin to feature an actual historical figure rather than a symbolic representation. The inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date frame Lincoln's profile, while Brenner's initials, VDB, appear discreetly near the lower edge of the shoulder. Turning the coin over reveals two graceful wheat ears surrounding 1 cent and United States of America, with EPLUBUSUNUM arching above. The reverse design reflects agricultural prosperity, national unity, and economic stability, themes that remained deeply meaningful during and immediately after wartime. Authentic 1945 Lincoln wheat pennies was struck from an alloy consisting of 95% copper with the balance primarily tin and zinc, weighed approximately 3.11 grams, measured about 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and featured a plain edge. These official specifications remain fundamental to authentication because genuine examples consistently conform to mint standards within normal manufacturing tolerances. Despite the impressive mintage figures, collectors understand that production numbers alone never determine rarity. Most 1945 Lincoln wheat pennies entered circulation immediately and remained in active use for decades, gradually losing the sharp details that once reflected fresh dyes and brilliant mint surfaces. Today, experienced numismatists begin every examination by studying Lincoln's hair, cheek, jawline, and coat folds before shifting their attention to the reverse, where the individual wheat kernels, stalk lines, and lettering provide valuable clues about wear and strike quality. Strongly struck coins display crisp definition throughout the design, while weaker strikes may leave portions of the portrait or wheat ears slightly soft despite limited circulation. Surface quality also plays a decisive role. Original mint luster should create a vibrant cartwheel effect under proper lighting, and collectors carefully search for distractions such as carbon spots, contact marks, scratches, fingerprints, or evidence of environmental damage. A coin with exceptional eye appeal often commands far greater attention than another technically similar example whose surfaces have lost their originality. Professional grading introduces another level of sophistication because copper coins receive both numerical grades and color designations. Independent grading services evaluate Lincoln cents using the Sheldon scale while also classifying them as red, red-brown, or brown according to the amount of original mint color that remains. Fully red examples retaining nearly complete original brilliance become increasingly difficult to locate after decades of natural oxidation, especially in higher mint state grades. As scarcity rises, collector demand often follows. Under favorable market conditions, an authenticated mint state red example with outstanding strike quality and attractive surfaces has realized approximately $1,720, while another certified coin displaying exceptional originality, cleaner fields, and stronger visual appeal has sold for roughly $3,180. Those values represent professionally authenticated collector quality coins rather than ordinary circulated pieces, illustrating how originality, preservation, certification, and market demand combine to influence value far more than the date itself. Beyond standard issues, specialists devote considerable attention to legitimate die varieties and documented mint errors. Collectors examine 1945 Lincoln wheat pennies for features such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, lamination flaws, die cracks, cuds, and other production anomalies that occurred during the minting process. However, no single dramatic variety defines the entire 1945 issue in the same way that certain famous Lincoln cents are associated with well-known doubled dies or transitional errors. Responsible numismatic research requires acknowledging that reality rather than exaggerating rarity. Authentication, therefore, becomes essential whenever an unusual feature appears. Altered dates, counterfeit mint marks, artificially cleaned surfaces, and post-mint damage can easily mislead inexperienced collectors. Professional grading services compare suspect coins with known die characteristics while analyzing weight, composition, strike pressure, microscopic surface texture, and manufacturing diagnostics before confirming authenticity. Their expertise provides confidence that unusual characteristics genuinely originated at the mint rather than after decades of circulation. Long-term preservation is equally important because the condition of a copper coin can change significantly if stored improperly. Copper reacts readily with moisture, oils from fingerprints, airborne sulfur compounds, and unsuitable storage materials, gradually altering both color and surface quality. Collectors therefore recommend handling coins only by the edges and avoiding any attempt to clean or polish them, since even gentle cleaning removes the original surfaces that professionals expect to see. A cleaned coin may lose substantial collector appeal regardless of its technical sharpness. Archival quality holders, stable temperatures, low humidity, and protection from direct sunlight all help preserve original luster and natural color over time. Careful examination under magnification should focus on identifying authentic mint characteristics rather than searching for shortcuts to value. In today's market, originality often outweighs superficial brightness, and preserving a coin exactly as it has survived through history generally offers the greatest long-term benefit for both scholarship and collector confidence. The enduring fascination surrounding the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny comes not from a single spectacular rarity, but from the remarkable combination of historical context, artistic design, careful craftsmanship, and the ongoing challenge of locating exceptional survivors more than 8 decades after they were struck. Every authenticated coin tells its own story through its mint mark, strike quality, remaining luster, color, preservation, and overall eye appeal, reminding collectors that no two examples are truly identical. While certified high-grade coins have achieved around $3,940 in competitive sales, and extraordinary authenticated varieties or significant mint-era examples have realized substantially higher verified auction prices. Those exceptional results belong only to coins possessing remarkable rarity, superior preservation, or documented mint-made characteristics, rather than to every 1945 Lincoln wheat penny. That distinction is what makes careful research, professional authentication, and patient observation so essential in numismatics. Sometimes the smallest coin carries the deepest history, and the next remarkable discovery begins with a closer look.